Over the last couple of years of the channel, I've had many different logos I've used. First of all being this one on the screen right here. I used it for a long time. I loved it. I drew it. I thought it was really cool. But I thought it was time for a bit of an update. So for the last little while on the channel, I've been using this logo here. It's really nice. I like it. Nothing wrong with it. Particularly like what it says and the contrast between the words and the skull. Keeping the words really, really basic and having the focal point, the skull in the middle there. And having some of my most used drawing and painting utensils coming through that skull, which I thought was really, really nice. But the one thing I didn't like about this piece, and I've had lots of comments on, is the teeth. A lot of people seem to have a problem with the teeth. They said skulls don't have teeth like that. I personally couldn't really care less. But I thought, you know, let's refresh the logo again, have something really modern, something that really fits me a little bit more. So I came up with this logo here. Now, I've kept the words the same around the outside. I thought that was really cool. And then I've redone this skull, as you can see here. Very modern, very neo-traditional, very much what I like to draw. And I also updated the pencil, the Apple Pencil, and the paintbrush going through the skull here. I've got a freestyle type of brush, the ones that I like to use from Liquitex coming through. I've got the Blackwing pencils, which I love to use, pretty much exclusively use those these days. And I've also got the Apple Pencil as well, because a lot of what I do is digital art. Overall, this definitely represents me better as an artist. And I'm really, really happy with it, but I thought with Procreate Dreams releasing, why don't I animate this, have these tools here shooting through the skull into place, and then maybe I can use that as my new logo. Well, that's exactly what I did. If you've watched any of my videos, including this one, you'll see this happen at the start of the video. And that was done in Procreate Dreams. Now, this video is not a tutorial about Procreate Dreams per se. This is a video about how I animated my logo to be exactly what you just saw. Right, so first off, I didn't draw this in Procreate Dreams. Procreate Dreams definitely has a lot of cool features where you are able to draw your art and animate that. I was very specific about what I wanted as the end result, so I wanted to use this design and animate the brush, pencil, and Apple Pencil coming into the skull. So I did a couple of things first. I used an app called Amadine. You can see it on my home screen here. I use Amadine quite a lot. It's what I build my vectors in. It's a really fantastic app. I suggest you all have a look at this app. It's really, really cool, a lot of fun, and relatively easy to pick up and be building really cool vectors in. Let's have a look in Amadine at the logo and what it's looking like before I brought it into Procreate Dreams. You can see I've built it here, ready to go. Vector's amazing. I'm not limited by sizes when it comes to this. So whatever I want to do, I could do business cards. I could put this on billboards if I wanted. That's why we build vectors, because it's going to make everything so much easier to work with. And if I drop down my layers here, you can see I've created everything kind of in its own section. I've got the words, the skull main. I've also got skull detail there. It can be really helpful when working with vectors to try and break things up even more when you are building things like this. And then we've got the tools detail and tools main as well, similar to what I did with the skull there. And from here, it's really easy. I can tap on things if I need to, and I can adjust them, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. But I had to do something before I brought this into Procreate Dreams. I had to make sure that all of these elements were singular before I did. I'll show you exactly what I mean. If I go back to the file structure of Amadine, you can see here I've got the skull by itself, which I brought into Procreate Dreams. I've also got the brush. I've got the Apple Pencil, the Blackwing pencil, and the words as well. Once I had them, I exported all of those as PNGs. That way I didn't have the background and they were there just as the objects themselves. And I was ready to go to jump into Procreate Dreams. Let's have a look at what that workflow looked like. All right, we're in Procreate Dreams and you can see I've got my file here. Let's open it up and look at what it looks like. I've named it Rocket Design Logo, and we can scrub through this timeline and we can sort of see what's happening as I bring each of these elements in. So the reason I wanted to have everything ready to go separate and portioned out was I wanted to have a build effect or a build animation happen. So as I scrub through here, you can see the first thing that happens is the words appear. And if I use my two fingers to zoom in on this timeline and I tap on the words here, you can see I've put a little transition in there. And that transition is the transparency. It's going from 0 to 100 right there. And then what I like to do with something like this is I like to cut it where I know the next animation is going to start. So right there when they're in full, the skull appears. And then we have the skull on screen for maybe half a second. And this is where it got a little bit tricky in Procreate Dreams to create the effect that I wanted to create, or the animation that I wanted to create. I had to make these little cuts in the frame here until the Apple Pencil actually got into its final place, and I'll show you exactly why. As this pencil comes through, you'll see there's a part where it crosses over the O in Rocket there, and then the next frame, it goes behind the skull. The next frame, it continues through, takes out a little bit of the R as well. Next frame, tiny bit of the corner of the R there, but it starts to come out of the eye socket. The next one continues through, continues through, continues through. Now, the reason why I had to make all of those little cuts is every time that happened, I had to remove something from the letters here in each frame. If I had kept these letters as one continual file across there, every time I remove something from it, it would affect everything in that timeline. I definitely don't want that. So I wanted it to affect it frame by frame. So right in this one, nothing's changed. This one here, I removed part of the O. This one here, part of the R and the O. And then this one here, R and O again. This one I removed tiny bit of the corner of the R. And then to the final place, I didn't have to make any other adjustments to the letters. Now keep in mind, that was just to the words. From here, I had to come in, and if we look at the skull here, I had to make all these little cuts as well in the skull, because when this pencil comes through, right when this adjustment here is happening to the letters, I also need an adjustment to happen to the skull right here. So I had to think about exactly when I wanted these changes to happen to each frame of the skull. And if I pull through here, I really didn't have to have anything change until this frame here, where the tip of the pencil kind of starts to cover part of that eye socket. And then from here, I was removing parts as the pencil finally settled into place. But that wasn't the only thing I had to think about. I also had to think about the pencil. Here we have the pencil a few layers up. And as it comes through, you can see it appears in the screen here. And then right there, it starts to cross over the O. And there's my first adjustment on the pencil. I had to remove the front half or the front portion of that pencil as it passed behind the skull. And then I had to keep going frame by frame. At this point, I was just treating them all like individual files. Now, something to mention here as well. As you can see below here, I've got a move and a scale set, and it's a little transition. What I did before I made all these cuts is I started at this point, and then it made a little keyframe, and I dragged it to the end where I wanted the pencil to finish, and I made another keyframe there as well. So that was the pencil shooting into place. And then when I was ready to make those little cuts, I went back and cut it frame by frame by frame by frame by frame. And then I was able to go into each of those frames and remove certain parts. It seems a little bit tedious, but I promise you, once you start using Procreate Dreams a lot, it actually really is efficient and quite fun to do as well. Let's keep having a look and see what else I did. As we move through the animation, what was next? It was the Blackwing pencil coming in, very similar here. If we go up and have a look, the Blackwing pencil was in here. Now, the good thing with the Blackwing pencil, it shoots in really fast. So I had one cut frame here. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see. One cut frame there, one cut frame there, and then it was rested in place from there on. As I was going, I was making sure I was adjusting the skull as well, because every time I made an adjustment to one of the pencils or the brushes, I would have to make sure everything was either there or not there for the skull as well. So as you can see here, when the brush starts to cut across, I had to remove part of the skull up on the forehead ridge there, and then it shoots through, and I was removing other certain parts, but the brush was coming back in, and then more adjustments until it finally settled into place. As you can see here with this brush as well, I had to get clever with it, because as it first passes over, there's a little hole in the end of that brush, which is, you'd be able to see through it if you held that brush up. As I move it across, that hole does pass over the end, so I had to make sure I was able to see the black part of the N in there as well. So it's just thinking about all these little things as I'm making it to make sure that final product looks as professional as possible. And then it was really just the timing. So this whole animation was only 5 seconds, but it did take me quite a while. But it was much more efficient than if I hadn't created all these individual pieces and then brought them into Procreate Dreams. Now, remember what I said, Procreate Dreams is fantastic and you can draw your own stuff in there, but I had a finished logo that I wanted to work with already, and I had built all the pieces separately as vectors. So in the end, it was quite easy to jump in, bring all the pieces in as individual files, layer them on each other, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I believe the bottom one there is not turned on, but 6 to 7 different layers. It's all going to depend on your art and what you're trying to do with it, but this was a really fun animation, and from here, I sort of let everything settle towards the end. So once that brush is in place, we've hit about 3.5 seconds, and then there's about another 1.5 seconds, until that finishes and disappears. Now what I've done as well is I did have a couple of seconds before the animation started, just white frame, and then I did have about half a second after it. That was by design. Again, I knew I was going to be using this for an intro, so I wanted to make sure that I was able to use that and things didn't start too fast. But this is a really fun way you can jump in, create animations from your art. So think about utilizing it this way in the future if you do already have art that you've created and you want to bring it in layer by layer. That's my new logo. I hope you enjoyed it. This was such a fun video to make and such a fun logo to make and create as well. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know if you've tried Procreate Dreams as well and what you think of it, and I'll catch you in the next video.